Yeah.
I tend to be too quick to get to that discount rate, and I end up lowballing myself. What advice do you have for dumbasses like me? You might think you have no choice but to accept a lowball offer because something is better than nothing, but sometimes nothing is actually better than something. Tiffany Markman, freelancer extraordinaire, recently posted on LinkedIn. I get pushback whenever I post about rates and rate setting, especially when I suggest saying no thanks to lowball offers of work. Someone even asked me recently if I'd rather refuse a 5,000 Rand gig and do nothing, or take a 5,000 Rand gig and have less than I wanted to, but more than I had. A good question, but it's fundamentally flawed. Not accepting the 5,000 Rand offer doesn't mean doing nothing with surplus time or energy. In my case, I spend my downtime on strategic marketing, casual networking, fine-tuning high-value services, creating new offerings, learning new skills, or improving existing ones. That's a lot to me. And almost all of these have the potential to net me more than 5,000 Rand down the line. So we are joined today by Tiffany to explain herself.
To explain myself.
Welcome to Freelance Life. Let's kick off with maybe what constitutes a lowball offer, because I suppose it varies for different people what your definition is. So what is a lowball offer?
So that's the way you phrase the question is exactly the issue, because a lowball offer is not about the money, right? It's about the context. So if January is traditionally a shitty month for you, then a 5K job doesn't feel lowball at all. Because if January is terrible, then 5K might feel like a highball offer. Whereas if June is traditionally your busiest month and you get a 5K offer, then you'd not accept it. Then it would be a lowball offer. So the lowball offer is not actually about the rands and cents. It's about the context. And it's the same story when it comes to who's offering. Like if I get a lowball offer from a regular, but I know them so well that doing that work will be quick and easy, that's not really a lowball offer. Whereas if I get it from a first-time client that I still have to get to know and interview and info gather, all that it's a very different thing. So it's really about who's offering, what's involved, and what else is on the table. A lot of the time when we say yes to offers of project rates, there might be things on the table other than money. It might be a sexy industry you've been wanting to work in, or a cool client that you've been wanting to work with, or something you've never tried before and have wanted to do creatively. There's other stuff on the table that makes it less lowball. And my advice is always, if you are going to accept what is a lowball offer, give a real reason for it, not just because they asked, or because there's a financial crisis, or because there's a recession. Like, that's just not a reason. And then always invoice at your full rate and then discount down to the lowball offer on the quote so that they can see what you would be charging. And this is also important because clients tend to peg us at the rate they originally got us for in their minds. But if the quote clearly shows that the rate is X and you're discounting it down to 5K on this occasion for a good reason, which is itemized on the quote, then you've made it very clear that it's a once-off deal.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant idea. I've never done that. That's genius.
I do tend to be very quick. Sometimes I lowball myself because, you're quite desperate for the work. And so I remember, Tiffany, when we had, when you were part of the Business of podcast, you mentioned to me about that kind of itemize the discount. Always show your full rate, but itemize the discount. I tend to be too quick to get to that discount rate. And I end up lowballing myself. What advice do you have for dumbasses like me? We're not desperate for the work. Some people are desperate for the work, but you kind of want to confirm a new client, or like you say, you want to work with a cool new industry or something along those lines. So in order to kind of secure the project, you're hoping, well, maybe if I show I'm willing to give a discount, so yeah, I mean, the struggle is real for some of us.
The struggle is real for all of us. I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm kind of a hard ass pretty much, I think this is consensus in the industry, but I will very often do exactly what you've just described. So I will be so gung-ho about the project, which sounds cool, or the client who seems nice, or whatever, that I'm like, okay, yeah, of course. And then I'll overcommit, not always from a money point of view. I won't always jump to offer a discount, but I'll be like, of course I can do it in the next 4 weeks, when there is no way I can do it in the next 4 weeks without killing myself and hating my whole life. So we all do this. We sabotage our own sensibilities, right? So the advice I'm going to give you is the advice that I would take if I listen to myself, which we all know that I do not. And that is, you don't need to give an answer immediately. Like, the world's not going to end. The client's not going to change their mind if you say, let me look at my calendar, let me look at my job board, let me just talk to insert person here. I'll get back to you with confirmation of what discount we can offer, whether we can offer a discount. I'll get back to you on timing. Why do we not just say to the client, I'm so excited, this is going to be so amazing, I do just need to work a few things out in the background to get back to you. But we want to give them an answer on the call. No, why? Like, when I stop, it's so funny.
I mean, a lot of this also comes down to us and freelancers and people in general. There is an element that you can't get rid of that is just a people pleaser. As much as I try to, and you're always wondering, where's the next bit of work going to come from? You never feel completely secure. Even if your calendar is full, even if you're a chocolate box, you cannot take on any more clients. There's still this feeling. I don't know if it's people pleasing. I don't know if it's insecurity or what it is, but you feel like you need to perform and be that freelancer who's on call and ready to take the job and says yes and can do. And we put so much pressure on ourselves for that. And I think all of us do, and we all know we're doing it. And I think it's just a case of sometimes just being aware that this is what you are doing. You're sabotaging not just yourself, but perhaps not being able to give the best deliverable or whatever it might be, and sort of talk ourselves off the ledge frequently.
Yeah. We really got to start asking for more time. Like, I have to do it because I also get all excited, and then, I'm like, yes, whatever it takes. No, not whatever it takes. Calm your tits, sunshine, and take 5 minutes. So I think this is something we can all learn from. The other thing, Shay, is that I used to think it was people pleasing. And then I realized that what it actually is it's something much more sinister that I have dressed up as good service. So in my head, I think, yes, I'm responsive, I'm quick to quote, I'm quick to answer, I give good service. It's not good service. It's like this desperate need to be liked, which is so much more sinister than giving good service. And I pretend to myself that it's a service ethic, but it's a wanting to be the good guy all the time ethic. Fuck that, right? I don't like easier. That is not being the good guy. That is being irresponsible to myself.
It helps me to remember that it's not just being irresponsible to myself, but also irresponsible to the person who I'm meant to be serving. Because if my calendar's full and I take on and I say yes straight away to the job that they've offered, I'm not going to give them the best product because I'm overcommitted. So it helps me to still want to be liked enough to do a good job, to remember why it kind of comes full circle.
Yeah.
It is sinister. You're right.
So you mentioned a bit earlier, there are certain cases where you would accept a lowball offer because it's contextual. And now the three of us are experienced freelancers. We've been in business. I mean, you've been in business for like Shay and me together, plus some.
I'm old. I'm old.
You're 44. You're fine. We know.
You're only a year older than me, Tiffany. Jeez.
Oh, okay. But I was a child bride. I started my business when I was 25.
Yeah.
We are. My point is, we are established freelancers. We've got self-sustaining kind of businesses at the moment. But it's different for a freelancer that's starting out because you don't have a reputation in the market. You don't have the client base. You don't have the network. You don't have the money. Let's face it. We are in a very fortunate position where, we've got some savings to back us up so we can turn a low ball up or down. So, when should you accept a low ball? And I'm putting that in context of specifically kind of new to freelancing people.
One thing I will say is that even if you are in the early phases of your freelance career, and you don't have the luxury of turning work away or, negotiating. You don't have the arsenal behind you of history to negotiate with. You must still, I'm going to give a piece of advice that I got from a colleague and close friend of mine, Brad Shawkind, who says, you should start as if you're 1,000 big. And what that means is not so much what you accept, but how you accept it. So even if you are just a newbie starting out and new to the game, put the systems and the rules and the practices in place as if you were a 20-year veteran or a 10-year veteran, or, treat it as seriously as if you were a bigger player. Because then when you are a bigger player, you've got good habits. So that doesn't really answer your question. Your question was, when a lowball offer is made and you simply do not have the luxury of saying no to it, what do? Well, you take it because food costs money. But be very clear with yourself about why you are taking it. You are making a strategic decision to accept an offer that is lower than you would like and potentially lower than you are worth for some very valid reasons that you can justify to yourself. You are not getting into the habit necessarily of assuming that every lowball offer is all you deserve. That's why lowball offers are so dangerous in the early years, because you start to think that's all you can get. And you also then don't market higher. You don't market aspirationally. You market at the level you're getting work. So I'm not saying turn down food, because that's stupid, but try and turn it down in a way that positions you as if you were a much bigger player. Be very honest with yourself about why you're accepting it, and be very clear that each one of these is a case-by-case, once-off strategic call that you are making, and not how you intend to go on forever.
I'm actually going through a bit of a rates thing at the moment, because I write a lot of very long, in-depth technical articles and white papers and that sort of thing. And I have decided to triple my rates for those items, because I think that, I've backed myself into a corner of originally writing a blog for $500. So now when I charge $2,000 for a blog, I think it's a lot of money. But the amount of time and effort that goes into what I do is worth a lot more than what I'm currently charging. And I've kind of backed myself into a corner now, because I've got established clients that are used to paying, R3,500 for a case study. And now, they're not going to want to jump to the new rate. I've got a whole strategy to phase it in. But you're quite right. I mean, you start charging something and you think that, oh, I'm so lucky to have got this business. I can't increase my rate because then I'm going to lose the clients.
Yeah. The other thing is so I'm glad that you're aware that you created this little dilemma for yourself by going in so cheaply originally that the leap between the 500 to the 2,000 or to the 1,500 is triple, because we can't expect clients to tolerate our rates tripling every year. That would be absurd, right? I mean, no one would ever have a business on that basis. But clients will tolerate, in most cases, a CPI-linked increase or an inflation-linked increase, or even like a 7 to 10% annual. In most cases, it's the triple that's the issue, and the issue exists because you started so cheaply, if I may say. But I was going to say to you, you have to have a strategy for phasing them up, and you obviously have thought of that, and you do have one. And this just speaks to the danger of accepting lowball offers as a chronic response, because then when the time comes to charge A, what you're actually worth and what you were potentially always worth, and B, what the market is now willing to accommodate, given how much effort and energy the piece of work takes, it's suddenly this rabid margin, which is not, it wouldn't be so big if it had grown incrementally. And again, I mean, I love giving advice and not taking it myself. There were years that I didn't increase my rates because there was a pandemic and because there was a global financial crisis that eventually knocked on here in South Africa. And for whatever reason, there have been several years when my rates have remained totally static, which I just want people to understand that there is inflation every single year. Every year that your rates do not grow, at least in line with inflation, you are losing money. because everything else is costing more and you are not earning more. So you are basically leaving money on the table for every year that your rates do not increase in line with inflation. Now, it's all very well to say that, but creatives find it harder than perhaps any other kind of human to motivate for more money, because what we do is often it's a low capital expense for us. It comes out of our heads. Like, you can't say, well, my raw material costs are high, or the costs of logistics have gone up, or warehousing space costs more. It's shit that comes out of our heads in most cases. So yeah, we need to get into good habits, I think, with annual increases or every other year increases. Otherwise, we do end up in a situation where suddenly the increase becomes a hygiene factor for the business, and it feels very, very big to the client. And there's like guilt and all sorts of weird shit for you, which is not fun.
Yeah.
Also, just to come down on you extra hard, Meegs, and all of us when we do this, it's not also about ourselves, it's also the profession, because you charging a lowball offer is setting a standard that's what a blog costs, and sure, maybe you can find people to do that for you, but it's not actually doing anyone in our profession any favors. So stop lowballing all of us.
Just to clarify, I'm not still charging 5. That was when I started my business rates. I do charge a lot more now. But
I've got some far worse ones,
so even more, because you've got no room to talk, Shay, because weren't you charging 200 rand for a blog?
I was correct.
How much?
200 rand.
200.
Oh my God.
When I was hustling.
No, sorry. I mean, I've clearly been doing this a long time, but I haven't charged 300 or 200 rand for anything in about 10, maybe 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we are all guilty here.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, charge what you're worth, not charge what you think you're worth, not what, what am I trying to say here, guys?
No, you're trying to say, you're trying to say two things. You're trying to say, charge what you're worth ideally. If you can't get that, have a good reason for charging less than you're worth, and start and spend the time that's left over finding clients who see your worth and are willing to pay for it.
Yeah, there you go. That's why they pay you the big bucks.
If you need help validating your rate, I've got that rates calculator on my website, which helps. It just sets, like, this is the minimum I need to be earning per hour. And then you actually just feel so much. Sorry.
I want to say something about your rates calculator, right? Rates calculators are shit. They never do what I need them to do, except yours. It is so brilliant. It's the only good rates calculator I've ever used, and in fact have ever seen, because it was so close to my actual rate. That has never happened to me before. Yeah, well, of course. But also Rockstar rates calculator. Like, rates calculators are cuck. They are not all equal. Your one is the best one I've ever seen.
Awesome. So give it a try, because it also just gives you the validation that you're actually not charging more than you should be. That's your base. And in most cases, actually higher than most of us think we should be charging. So, yeah.
So we'll include the link to your rates calculator, Shay, in the show notes. And then if people are watching, we'd actually like to hear what are you currently charging, and what does Shay's rates calculator say you should be charging? Are you lowballing yourself? Probably. Leave those comments in the comments section, and we will see you in the next episode.